tribulations, my heart, my balls, my somebody stop, somebody come and get me. Little did I know that the Lord was riding with me. The dark, the light, my heart, the fight, the wrong, the right is gone.
Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Sammy Leggy here representing Team JVS. I'm back again for another movie review. The name of this movie is called Come Away. Now, this was directed by Brenda Chapman. Brenda has written some of the best of Disney films. And I'm talking about Disney animation, 2D. The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, as well as she was the director of Prince of Egypt, as well as a writer and director of the movie Brave. So, the movie itself, I don't want to read the full entire synopsis because the synopsis actually spoils a lot. All I'm going to say is that Peter and Alice seek to save their parents from despair until they are forced to choose between home and imagination, setting the stage for their iconic journeys into, and that's all I'm going to say. Because I think that if you go into this, even knowing who, their names are, you already start to process certain things. You start to notice certain Easter eggs and certain things that pay mention to these amazing iconic characters and what they're going to be, what they could be, or what their imagination is trying to push them towards. I think that's the most captivating thing about this one. From the visual aesthetic of this, a lot of the fluid, back and forth moments of natural imagination that kids have, it just is so fluid. There's a moment where the characters, David, Peter and Alice are just moving through the woods, and they're sword fighting with sticks, but then all of a sudden it starts turning into a sword, or they're at the water basin and it turns into an actual ship, or Peter might be doing his studies and all of a sudden you see just there visually on the actual desk that he's on, where he's kind of carved like a boat and stuff, it just starts to animate, and the visual effects, the VFX are just so naturally progressed. They're so beautiful. And there's a couple different moments towards the second and third acts where it starts to really go heavy on the imaginative standpoint, that I was like, this looks gorgeous. This looks so visceral. And what it brought me to, by the end of the movie, I was like, I need to re-watch these characters and what they've been before, because this movie is not exactly a retelling of what we've seen before, but it kind of is. It is a merger of two specific set characters that were created by M.J. Barrie, who, if you don't know, he made Peter Pan, and Lewis Carroll, who made Alice in Wonderland. That's all I'm going to say. I can't say anything more than that. But they found a way of fusing those two iconic stories in a naturally progressive way that I was I was really captivated by. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I have to talk about the backdrop, because this is played by Keira Chansa, plays the role of Alice. Jordan Nash plays the role of Peter. Reece Yates plays the role of David, and then you got all-star actors all over spread through this. You got Angelina Jolie plays the mom, Rose. You got Michael Caine plays the role of Charlie. You got Gugu Mabitha Raw, who plays the role of somebody, one of the main characters. I'm not going to spoil it. You got David Oyelowo, who plays the role of Jack. This is the dad. You got Charlie Peters, plays the role of the Hatter. That's all I'm going to say. You got David Gyasi, who he was just in the movie recently. Oh my gosh. But the last time I seen him in anything was in Carnival Row for Amazon Prime, which he did an amazing job, and he did an amazing job in that. Oh my gosh. But in terms of performance, specifically when you narrow down the reality of the circumstance was happening, you have a mother and father that are living in London. They're living outside the skirts of London. One is African American, well, not African American, but is black. Other one is white, and they have an interracial relationship. They are married, they have kids, but the status and the quo and people, their perception of who they are is a mystery, even from the kid's standpoint. But they start to unravel the realities of where they are, why they look the way they do, and there's so many nuggets in this that it has so much rewatchability. I'm not even kidding. But just off of Angelina Jolie's performance with David, they have amazing chemistry. Even in scenes where they weren't there, their presence with each other is always there. There's a wholesomeness about who they really are at their core, but the circumstances that are ripping their family apart are just tragic and emotive, and they really do. When the first act like gets done, like you feel it. You feel it on a really deep emotional resonant level, and from that point it is up to, you know, the characters Peter and Alice to kind of carry us along with the story. And that's where Keira and Jordan really do thrive. They really do feel like brother and sister. They really do, even when they don't get along, like it's something about them taking on these characters that aren't just characters of a story. Like, they very much so are their own characters of this story, but the iconography of who they actually are is richly embedded into the wovings of this script and the way that it's filmed. And the like, if you are anywhere near fans of these two iconic characters and what outside of where this movie goes, you're gonna see stuff that's gonna be like, oh, whoa, what was that? And you're gonna notice that how they round this movie up, even in the most tragic of moments, and there are some very tragic moments, not just one, it's multiples. It's heartbreaking at times, it is hard at times, it is real at times, and I was finding myself very frustrated at times, and I think that is an emotion that I mean, most emotions, like, sometimes it is good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, if it's giving you something, it's making you feel something, it's doing the job. And at the end of the day, these are kids. And there's something that the kids do very early on, and I was so upset. I was so, like, why is this happening? You know, why are they doing this? How are they even, you know? And there are ramifications to the things that they did. And you feel it, and they feel it, and it changes them from the inside out. There's a moment where Alice is having a conversation with her aunt. That's a very hard conversation to even listen to know what's really going on. There's so many different things about the makeup of them being who they are, which is not just these iconic characters, but they also are children that are mixed and way society perceives them. There's like the character Peter, for instance, he's got like this on his chest, like he's got this mirror, and like, you know, they'll use it for different things and different nudges here or there from iconography standpoint, but I personally was like, maybe this is something that he needs to look at himself to see who he really is. You know what I'm saying? There's a conversation, again, like I said, that happens later on with Angelina Jolie and her daughter. That's a very specific conversation, and it leads down a very dark path, and that was very scary to me. And I think that with all that being said, I think that this is a very powerfully resonant film. It definitely takes in the vein of Finding Neverland a bit, but at the same time, I don't think I've seen anything quite like this. I think that I appreciated it more the more that I sat on it. And then when I was like, I really need to go back and see this again, I recommend you go and check out this movie, because I think you're going to be caught off guard by it. And it still finds a way of being PG, but it is very, at times, dark, very bleak at times, very hard to watch at times. And it's definitely something that if you're going to watch it with your kids, hold them close. Encourage them, have a conversation with them after the fact. When you start to realize what's really actually going on from a racial standpoint, from a status standpoint, from an understanding of capability standpoint, I think it's very, there's themes in this film that make you understand that you have to have these conversations with your children. You have to have these conversations with your wife or your spouse or your husband. And go from there. And I think that this movie takes you on this very interesting journey, much like the two writers of these two iconic stories have already initially tried to do. This movie finds a way of taking it and pushing it past limitations that I didn't think were really there, and does something very different with them that I think was really ultimately amazing. I rest this movie at a 9 out of 10. Yeah, that's all I really have. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this review. I really want to spoil more about this. Please let me know in the comments below if you would like for me to go over a spoiler-filled review, because there's so many Easter eggs. And I would love to go and check out this film again. I would love to comment more on it. But yeah. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later on. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, guys.